Okay, good morning everyone. How are you? Good? I expect we have around 20 students in the class. Now this is the other half of the class. They were in quarantine right now. So we will try them to join us in, I think, a couple weeks time. Okay. So welcome to Cross Cultural Management Week 2. Okay, my name is Mia Ho, Associate Professor of International Business at National Taiwan University. And you were here last week, you know that I've been doing research and teaching the same field of international business in the past decades across different universities around the island. And for students who did not attend last week and you would like to know more about my personal background and academic experience, you can look for the information on the university website, I think under the faculty list of IB department. Okay. And today we will start our first lecture on the basic concept of cultures. Okay. And we got a couple questions to be explored. Let me turn to the page. Yes, here. So, which include two questions. The first question is about definitions of culture, and we're going to talk about where does it come from. And secondly, why culture differ and persist, and how to measure cultural distance in international markets. Okay. And along with the lectures to help you facilitate your learning, we will discuss two case studies concerning the cultural differences across international business scenarios. Okay. And I know we have some students just came in today, so you missed the first introductory session, and so that you probably have no idea how to assess the lecture materials, right? And perhaps you have some question about the course. So as I just show you in here, okay. So we got two parallel learning platforms for the course. One is NTU Core, which is the university learning platform, and I believe you already have automatically enrolled in it once you register the course. But if you have not registered a course for any reasons, you can still find the same information via Google Classroom. Right? So we synthesize all the lecture materials into learning platforms, so you can find all the materials in either of them. And yes. Oh, of course. Yeah, you can. And I usually upload lecture materials one day before each lecture. Okay? So you can utilize these materials to help you learning and participating in the class. And I normally will not get these materials printed out because I want to save the earth, of course. So encourage to bring your tablets or laptop, anything you can access on the internet for the electronic resources providing the learning platforms. Okay. So let's move on to the lecture today. Yes, these are the questions I already discussed. Okay, so the very first critical question is that let's talk about something more practical. Okay, so why culture is important? Okay. I think if you were here, you knew that we had a similar discussion about why you want to take the course, right? And regarding, I think we have a brief introduction by yourself, and thanks to your personal introduction, so we know that we have quite a diverse class with students from different nationalities, obviously, and not to mention many of you have mixed cultural backgrounds. Okay? So you've studied in different countries, including here, and differing from your originality or maybe your ethnicities. And so when you are interacting with students here in the class, maybe we are expecting few local students here, and you will basically experiencing cross-cultural communications at all times. Okay? And that's definitely a plus for undertaking the course. So we'll get back to the question like this. Let me just enlarge the screen. Okay. So why culture is important? So is anyone want to share your comments on the question? Why do you think it's important? You may say that, well, I think that's a very obvious question, right? You know culture is important because we probably are expected to gain cultural intelligence or cross-cultural communication management skills while starting possibly working here in Taiwan or maybe elsewhere in the near future. So, or maybe you will be working in your home country, but anyway, more or less you will interacting with the people, your colleagues with the different cultural backgrounds. So in any case, you know possessing cross-cultural communication management skills has become a must in modern business world, especially if you are looking for working in a multinational enterprise, right? And also people believe that culture is important because it is kind of an inevitable trend that we should embrace the diversity across culture, given that we're living in a much globalized world. Okay? And of course, if you you know that there are many approaches to learn culture. Okay? And many people will say that the priority to learn cross-cultural management in international business is to look at others' culture and to understand others' culture better. And my approach, I would say, slightly different or the other way around. Because I say to learn cross-cultural management, the first step is to look at yourself and to understand your own culture. So that's why I want to first of all talk about perception. Okay? So because it is all about perception to understand what people see, isn't it? So what can you see from the picture? This is very famous psychological test on individuals' perception. What do you see in the picture? Yeah, a rabbit? Or a dog, right? Depending on which angle of the picture you're looking at, right? Anything else? A rabbit? The hell. Okay, it's very innovative view. Okay, so most people will see two animals in the same picture. Okay, so I probably will see a dog or a rabbit, depending on which side of the picture you're looking at. And individual perception vary, not to mention that people with different cultural background will lead to potential conflicts or misunderstanding towards each other. Okay, and taking my personal experience as an example. Okay, so my ex-husband used to work in Hong Kong, so I often visiting him quite often a few years ago. So has anyone in Hong Kong before? Been to Hong Kong? How many years? Been there?
When I was abroad, and we
Okay, so you know about Hong Kong, right? Anyone been to Hong Kong? No? Okay. So if you've been in Hong Kong, I don't know, what do you think about your customer service?
Depends on the language and your see
Yeah. That's what I'm going to tell you in the following story. So just taking orders as an example. I'd like to do many such experiments when I was there because I'm really interested in cross-cultural aspects, this kind of research. And when I in a very local restaurant, I spoke to the staff and something like, I've been waiting for taking orders for long, can you bring someone to help me get it done? And I spoke to them in different languages. The first language I spoke to them was in Mandarin, and the second was in English. And when I spoke to them in Mandarin, okay, I got no service at all. I just completely ignored my request. And when I spoke to them in English, they took my orders immediately, and I got better treatment. So at the time, I was wondering that I look like 100% Chinese, right? Seriously, only because I acted as a foreigner, probably under Korean or Japanese, so I got better treatment. Okay, so that's a very interesting thing. If you've been to Hong Kong, but obviously you got better treatment than us, okay, because I look like a Chinese. Okay, so when you realize the political situation in Hong Kong, you will understand that why they do this, because Hong Kong people, they are not really big fan of the Chinese customers, especially the Chinese from mainland. Okay. So I don't want to judge the poor customer behavior Chinese from mainland. But from the historical perspective, if you know about the history of Hong Kong, we know Hong Kong has returned to China since 1997. And before that, it was ruled by British government for decades, right? And so the culture there is kind of mixture of the West and the East. Okay? So you see, this is one of the problems when you work with or interact people with different cultural backgrounds. And even though in my own experience, I just talked to you, people from Hong Kong, from China, or from Taiwan, they were basically linked with the same cultural origin, but still we have a cross-cultural conflict in misunderstanding at all times. So people see what they want to see, and they don't always see what you see. This is one of the challenges when you do international businesses in cross-cultural contexts. Okay. So moving on to our first topic today, what is culture and where does it come from? Okay, so this is a very long definition, as you can see from the slide. This definition was proposed by a very famous anthropologist called Clark Concombe back in 1961. And he defined culture into various dimensions, as you can see, for instance, including the cultural elements and presentations. And he said that culture is consisting of the various pattern ways of thinking, feeling, and reacting by human beings. And it also can be manifested by symbols, artifacts, traditional ideas, and values within human groups, the so-called society and all modern history. And given such encompassing complex definition, but I think it does not fully explain the characteristics of culture, because I believe that culture is formed by interaction between individuals and their environments. Okay, so my view on culture, I know it doesn't cover everything, okay? So it's that culture is a system of behavior that help us act in accepted or familiar way. Okay, so keywords include accepted and familiar. Because basically we do things that are accepted in our social groups, which are also familiar too, right? So let's look at the local culture here. So what is the Taiwanese culture? You know, when I ask the question to the students, especially if the class with the most local students here, they don't know how to answer me. Because obviously, culture is something that it's kind of an extra concept. And it is something that embedding in your daily life. And you can't really, it's being accepted and familiar in your daily life, so you can't really describe it, not until you meet someone with the different cultural backgrounds. Okay, so because we don't have local students, any local students here? Yes, this one. Can you just tell us how do you describe Taiwanese culture to other people versus to your classmates? It's a difficult question, isn't it? Yeah, how would you describe it? For instance, probably you can provide some examples. You think that's very unique in Taiwanese culture, and they're quite different from others' culture.
I guess I could just tell you that Taiwanese people is always friendly and nice.
Okay, so our individual yes, personalities.
Not carbon or DNA to be nice, especially foreigners.
Okay, do you think so? That most Taiwanese are friendly with foreigners? Well, they are willing to offer help to you? Okay. Anything else?
Well, mostly being nice to others, but I don't think of anything else right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like,
Yeah, that's the thing I want to say. Some people usually have they don't know how to describe their own culture because they've been living in their culture for so long. They don't know what would be the particular thing to other people, right? So how would you describe Taiwanese culture? I know most exchange students here, you have just been here probably just a few weeks, right? Maybe just 2 weeks, right? So how would you say, any special thing you've been noticed, observed in Taiwan? They are quite different from your own culture? Yes?
I think Taiwanese are more, not exactly, it's a different concept I didn't get until I came here, is that when they consider you part of their group, then that's when like the family ties and collectivist things start to take place. But if they don't consider you part of your group, then that collectivism doesn't really apply to you. So it's like everyone kind of thinks in a group, but only within the context of like we accept you as part of it.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation. I think most Chinese culture, for instance, Taiwanese culture, we're doing the Chinese culture as well. So we are group oriented. For instance, compared with the American culture, they're much more individualistic, right? So, but is it different from your own culture? In your culture, how were you form a group, so you make a group decision all the time?
I'm American, so obviously not.
Yeah, that's a very huge difference here.
I think within like America, there's a lot of subcultures, especially based on like ethnicity or race. So like as Black Americans, I think we're more collectivist than other Americans, but it's still very much, I think, in terms of me. Like you hear it a lot when we speak. It's not really we or us. It's always like me and I think. And
yes. In Taiwan, you often heard about we think, we thought, and we believe. Really rare. In rare cases, you would say I think, right? So that's a very good example. Anything else? So where are you from? I think you missed the first lecture last week, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind to briefly introduce yourself to us?
Okay, I'm Janelle. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean.
So, which major are you taking right now? Is it in Business College of Management?
At NTNU, IHRD, International Human Resource Development.
What about you?
Hi, I'm Kenya. I'm from St. Lucia, and I'm also doing the same program, IHRD, at NTNU.
So how long have you been here in Taiwan?
A year and a few months.
A few months. Oh, a few months. So,
1 year
oh,
and
just,
a few months.
oh, okay. So what do you think about Taiwanese culture? Is there anything that you think very bizarre or special that quite different from your culture?
Let's see.
I mean, good or bad thing? Anything? Okay.
I mean, they love, but tea is very different than that.
Oh yeah, it's very different tea culture. Yeah.
Yes. Also,
And I think we have very different tea culture across generation. Yes. Young people, they have different tea cultures. Elder people, they prefer to really enjoy the tea in the different settings, right? Tea culture, that's really good. Yes?
Something that I've like been sort of seeing is like how you think about time. And it goes a little bit also with the whole like that everyone is so friendly. But here no one would ever tell you when you need help that like I'm so sorry I'm gonna be late for work. Everyone is super helpful to then find someone else that can help me. And the same like with service, what you get is like super kind and very friendly, but it takes normally longer than it would in Sweden. Like then it's very much like if I go and grab a coffee to go, it's supposed to be like in my hand within a minute because I'm already stressed on my way because I'm late. So like
Yeah, have you been other cities around the island? Or just been Taipei? No. Yeah. So you've been Taipei, you think that they are much more relaxed than you?
they're relaxed,
Yeah.
and like everything takes more time, but it's made like in a very friendly manner, but it takes longer.
But you've been to other cities around the island, right?
Taipei is the slowest city that I've ever been in. Like it's very everyone except when they're crossing the street. Then everyone moves quickly. But like for a city, it's still very slow. Like I mean, I'm from Boston, so like everyone's like moving very quickly. But here, I think like I agree with like the it takes a little bit of time. Like and people are a lot more generous with their time. But it's like it's a little bit more slow paced than other cities, and I've been to a few cities around, and the concept of time is very much like we're on time, but we're not like it's not like a fixed time exactly, which is a little different than I think in the U.S. where it's like if you're on time, that means that you showed up like 5 minutes before at least. And you're ready to go. But here it's like, okay, I say I'm gonna be there at 10. I'll probably be there at like 9:58 or 10:02.
Yeah.
Like
It's kind of a range,
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of more of a range than.
But if you've been to Indonesia, anyone been to Indonesia, they have different perceptions of times. For instance, if you meet with friends in Indonesia, have you been to there?
No, but I won't go.
Yeah. So can you provide an example? Because that's really a extreme case.
I say their time is very different.
Really totally
I don't
different.
know what their time zone is. It's like late for half hour.
Half an hour is a norm. It's a norm. For instance, if you schedule a meeting with the Indonesian friend, for instance, online, I usually occur this kind of situation that for instance, set a meeting at 10 in the morning, they usually will just show up at 10:30. Okay. That's a norm for them.
That's not bad. In our
No.
Black Americans, it's usually like if you tell we call it like PLC time. If you tell like if you're having a party and you tell everyone to be there at 3 o'clock, the party is not starting until 6, and then the food's not being served till 7.
Okay.
So it's a very different set of time that we all understand. But if you're not part of that group, you're going to be very upset when people don't show up on time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I work with Indonesian people in college. Okay. Anyone want to share with your perception towards Taiwanese culture? Here, finally, I'm gonna give you a few examples. I don't know if you ever noticed that. And speaking of the living path, you think that Taipei is rather a slow city compared with other cities around the world, right?
Except the driving and the buses.
Yeah, and then the and the scooters, motorcycles,
That's
right? Yeah. So, are you overwhelmed by so many motorcycles in the city?
I'm very scared because we don't really have them in Boston. So when I first got here, like it really terrified me to cross the street.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that story. So, echoing what you just said, that because I asked you the question previously, that have you been to other cities in Taiwan? Because if you've been to city, for instance, in the south of Taiwan, you would super slow. So Taipei is rather a quick city compared with the other cities on the island. Okay. So that's a differences here. So like I just said, I give you 3 examples. The first one is this one. So have you ever noticed that we have so many temples in Taiwan, right? So we have very unique temple culture. So when you're in Taiwan, you may see temples almost everywhere. But I would say clinics are everywhere as well. Okay. And there are more than 15,000 official temples in Taiwan, okay, not including the unofficial ones. And temples play a very important role in Taiwanese religious culture. Okay, so we see temples not only a place to worship the gods and goddess, but also it's a kind of community center to interact with the local people. Okay, so once in a while, there will be temple fairs for celebration of gods or goddess birthday. I don't know why, but they have this kind of religions. And at the moment, you will see a bunch of people walking on the street for a long time and playing Chinese instrument and very weird music. And they were dressing poppies of gods, okay, and all kinds of decorated trucks followed by this parade. And sometimes there will be hot girls dancing and singing on the trucks. Okay, so you've seen that. That's really unique, right? They do so because they want to evacuate the party. Okay, and I'm going to show you a video. Okay, this video is 2 minutes. It's a kind of showing how the traditional culture of temple in Taiwan from a foreigner's perspective. Okay.
Because traditions in a lot of what group of people are. And so I'd like to go in different countries to find their own traditions, because it gives me also an idea of where is my roots. I think it's very moving experience for me, because I did not see some things like this for maybe 40 years or so. Yeah.
For me, it was really great to just go with the flow and go with the people and to go from one village to the other village and just to move the whole day, and every time it changes. Every minute we see something different, and then there are fireworks, and then there are food sharing, so a lot of different things in just one day.
A pilgrimage like this, I knew that I used to in France, but in a Catholic way, which is totally different, because we were going in the field, but praying all the time, not talking, with less noise possible, chanting eventually, making no music. Here I found somehow the same things. We are traveling around the field. It's the spring also. The clouds are growing, and we are marching around this to be aware of what nature is giving us. This is such a joy of all those people getting together and sharing something that on a daily life they don't have. So giving a lot and receiving, I found this is very moving for me.
Okay, so from the video you see that it shows the traditional culture in, for instance, join the parade to celebrate the gods and goddess birthday, right? And usually we're just a few days working, we just purely by working and enjoying the queue, okay? And you see that the temple is very full of colorful, interesting things to explore, right? You see the poppies of gods, right? But you need to have luck to witness the temple fair, because it's not really held very often. But I think it's held very often in south of Taiwan, because they are much more religious in a sense. Okay. And in speaking of lineup, okay, another thing I don't know if you ever noticed is that in Taiwan we have a phenomenon of waiting in queues. Okay. I think you nod your head.
That doesn't happen in the curve yet, though.
Yeah, are you curious why we are lining up all the time?
No, we don't.
Okay. So you often will see people lying in front of some random shops. For instance, whether it's a restaurant, a coffee shop, or maybe even a clinic. Okay. I think one of the problems why people are lining up all the time, maybe we have the store past customer service, right? In a sense, but in another perspective, that this is really unique in Taiwanese culture. Okay. So Taiwanese people just love to line up for something they want, or very often they line up for something they don't know. Okay. So give you a personal example again here. That a few months ago, I saw a long queue with tons of people lining up along with the street in my neighborhood. Okay. And I was on the phone walking by, and somehow I joined the queue for a while. Okay. And once I hand out my phone, and I asked the lady standing in front of me, what are you relying for? And she looked at me with very mysterious smile and said, I don't know. And at the time I was so relieved because I was not the only fool waiting in the queue for something that I have no clue. Okay. And I never know the answer, by the way. I never know what was the things that people are lying for, because I don't have time to political in the mysterious things that. But this is usually quite happening in the Chinese culture. Okay. So what can you learn from my example? Actually, you can learn something from it. Okay. So other than fitting Taiwanese people really like to follow suit, you as a marketer, okay, might use such cultural behavior to promote your brand to Taiwanese customers by manipulation of numbers of people lined up in front of the stores at all times, right? So believe it or not, this is most applicable to new store opening. Okay, but when you apply such marketing tactics and practices, you need to be aware of the timing. Okay. So from the research study shows, you can see from the slide. I think this marketing tactic is only useful if you keep Taiwanese customers waiting in a queue less than half an hour. Okay. And people become really upset after waiting for more than 30 minutes. Okay. And I think that's so true. Do you have such a lineup culture in your country? No, definitely not in your country. You don't like to wait. Yes. Would you wait up till 30 minutes? No. But if you ask the local people here, for instance, only you. Yes, right? For me, yes, I don't know why. Okay, it's kind of the nature that we like to waiting for something, because maybe in our mindset we think that this must be very precious. Okay, so we like to wait for that. Okay, and another thing I think most of you already know about that is that in most of the Chinese culture or Taiwanese culture, number 4 represents death. Okay, why is that? Because number 4 presents bad luck, and because the pronunciation of 4 in Mandarin is very alike to death, okay, in our languages. So very often you can't see floor 4 in many of the elevators in the large buildings in Taiwan, especially in hospitals. It's really bad luck. Okay, so that's one of the aspects probably you already know about that. Yes.
For the elevators, how is it strange? We don't have ground floor, so.
Yes.
I'm a little bit confused about what is the first one.
Yeah. I got examples when I first arrived in UK. So, ground floor, first floor, which one is the lowest floor? I don't know. Okay.
Ground floor or 0.
Yeah, I don't know, but you don't have 0.
First floor is when you walk in. That's the first floor. Like the ground floor is the first floor in the U.S.
Oh, okay. What about you? You talk about the Australian culture?
Yeah, it's like we have ground floor, so like.
Ground floor is the first floor?
Yeah, once you walk into ground floor, so like.
But what about the first floor?
First floor should be
The second floor. We're really confusing. Okay, I don't know, but it's very confusing, but it's good to know, okay? So speaking of Chinese culture, here is another practical case in which we're gonna spend some time discussing by groups, okay? So I think just really organize yourself into 3 or 4 students per group in the class, and then get one of the group handouts. I think I can do that here. Just get one of it from me, okay? Yeah, we have the TA, teaching assistant Johnson, okay, in the class. Okay. So I already uploaded case onto the Google Classroom and also into your core. You will find a case title, it's for all the staffs. Okay. I wrote a case by myself when I did a consulting work with the local Taiwanese firm. So give it 10 minutes for this exercise, okay? 3, 4, maximum 4.